2019 has been the best year for the Florida Lighthouse Association grant programs. The program is now over 10 years old, and throughout that decade, FLA has been able to distribute money to virtually every group in Florida dedicated to the preservation, protection, and restoration of Florida lighthouses. This year, we have been able to distribute over $165,000 to 6 Florida lighthouse preservation groups for preservation and education work. One of those is the Pensacola Lighthouse and Museum. Since 2010, the Pensacola Group has been the recipient of several FLA grants.
We started the organization in 2006, but we really got open to the public full-time in 2010. One of the first things I asked the board to do was we need to get an assessment to figure out where we stand with the lighthouse and what exactly needs to be done. And we can all say the lighthouse needs to be restored, but what did that entail? And we came to FLA and started writing grants for that. And then we also went to the state of Florida and wrote grants in addition to match up with the FLA funding.
When the Pensacola Group was given the lighthouse, they started with a professional assessment of the tower and other buildings.
During our assessment, it was noted that on the exterior of the lighthouse there was a plastic coating of elastomeric, which was holding moisture behind the paint. The water that was being held behind the elastomeric was coming through the brick, through the mortar, loosening the mortar joints. It was rusting all the interior. The ironwork up top was, a lot of material had been lost on that. We were down to about 60%. The plates had buckled. It was in serious need of work. We had rotten porches, rotten windows, just everything needed to be redone.
So much work to do. The house, the tower, inside, outside. Where do you start?
One of our first grants was, I believe it was $15,000 to restore our porches. There were basketball-sized holes in the porch, and it was like walking on a moonwalk. The boards would sag, and frankly, it was a safety issue about getting our guests in. We restored those porches with that first FLA grant. That allowed us to maintain our operating, increase our capacity, and save more money for the bigger projects to come.
One of the things we as FLA have been very good at is giving seed money, funds that can be used to start a project, funds that can be used to raise more money, effectively multiplying that money many times over.
The next project we did in 2012 was the restoration of our keepers' quarters. With that, I believe we got about $7,000, which paid for the architectural renderings of that building. That building ended up costing our organization $120,000, but again, it increased our capacity and our ability to fundraise and raise money in our gift shop and through admissions.
That $7,000 grant produced vital blueprints that the Pensacola Group used to raise the other funds they needed. Over nearly a 10-year period, they were able to build on this success and raise funds totaling $1.5 million to perform the other preservation and restoration work, including stripping that plastic coating and rebuilding the ironwork.
We were in the middle of a final phase of our restoration, which was the largest component, and that was the exterior ironwork. So if you'd visited the tower was scaffolded top to bottom. Most of the lantern room was gone, and we had an electrical fire in our basement of the keepers' quarters, which could have been dramatically, it would have been devastating. So we came back to FLA because we were strapped, we were spread beyond capacity. With the last grant, we were able to remove all the old wiring, rewire the keepers' quarters, redo the ductwork, and also do some new and stronger HVAC systems.
We at FLA are good at moving quickly. Many of the grants we fund are for emergencies like this one. In this case, the fire created an emergency, and emergency funding was needed. FLA was able to process and approve this grant in record time.
Our station is not funded by federal government, and it wasn't funded by anybody at the time, and the only people we could lean on or turn to were FLA to really get us a kickstart. And through those programs, not only were we able to receive grants, but it showed us and taught us how to write grants, how to better prepare ourselves for the granting process when the state grants came along. It both gave us money and both prepared us for future opportunities and made us ready for those opportunities.
I am proud to be part of the Florida Lighthouse Association, dedicated to the preservation, restoration, and protection of Florida's remaining lighthouses. It is exciting to see the Pensacola Lighthouse Group go from a small band of volunteers to a first-class museum and fully restored light station in a few short years. I am proud that the FLA Grants Program helped this to happen. Now let's look back on the other grants of 2019. Pensacola received grants totaling $30,000, allowing them to finish the restoration and upgrade wiring and provide a state-of-the-art air conditioning system perfect for the preservation of artifacts in their museum. Boca Grande received $48,000 to be used to stabilize the Assistant Keeper's House. Cape San Blas received $34,000 to help with hurricane damage repair after Hurricane Michael devastated the Gulf Coast area. Fortunately, the lighthouse and keepers' houses stood firm in the eye of the storm, but there was damage that needed to be repaired. Jupiter Inlet received $24,000 to help finish their repainting project. Cape Canaveral received $16,000 to help start the development of exhibits in their new museum, which will be located in the recently rebuilt replica of one of the original keepers' houses. And finally, the Florida Keys Reef Lights Foundation was given a conditional grant of $15,000 to help in the eventual purchase of one of the reef lights. Now, restoring a lighthouse is a wonderful thing, but it is not a one-time thing. The need for preserving the lighthouse is never ending. Preservation groups like Pensacola, Boca Grande, Jupiter Inlet, Cape Canaveral, and the others, the need is constant. In 2020, we estimate FLA may be asked to fund as much as $200,000 in grants to our local preservation groups. A large part of those funds come from the sale of Visit Our Light specialty license plates. If you don't have one of these on your car, please consider it. It is easy. Just specify the plate the next time you renew your tag. Your tax collector will handle the rest. The need goes beyond that, and there are other opportunities. FLA has many members who give one-time annual gifts, and those may be something small or large, $25, $100, $1,000. Consider making that tax-deductible donation today. Many members give monthly, $25 a month, $100 a month. My challenge is for you to commit to give. Buy in. Invest in this important preservation, restoration, and education work. Dee Dee, my wife, and I are regular donors to the work, and we ask that you join us. There is a link under this video. Click on that link and help us in our preservation efforts to save Florida's remaining historic lighthouses.